Western women would rather mock men for traveling the world and finding good women than clean up their act and admit they want men to pay for them to travel the world so they can find better men. They see it as a challenge to their perceived entitlement to having everything they want. After all, if the lack of perfect men is the problem, how dare they find women that appreciate them instead of becoming perfect? They would rather harass and abuse the men that haven't abandoned them yet, that can't wrap their minds around the reality that they are the problem.
Agree with you. How are they saying this? By quietly marrying more black men with every generation that passes. Meanwhile, angry feminazi black women are being chosen by black men less and less and less with each generation. How dare you get with a woman who don't consider herself a queen? How dare you have a family with a woman who respects you as a head of household? How dare you build with her to get to where y'all at today? How dare you accept what she's bringing to the table other than her cleavage and her booty? That's why angry feminazi black girls are really pissed at you black men.
Women aged 18 to 30 who are not overweight, unmarried, childless, with a height between 5'3" and 6'0", and an income of $0 or more constitute 7.87% of the American dating pool. These are some of, if not the lowest and most reasonable standards a man could have when dating, and this is all before accounting for actual looks, personality, and compatibility. The passport bro movement is a hoflation. Men are going to different markets where inflation is not high. Simple economics. They say foreign women are trying to exploit Western men. The exploitation really isn't happening to these women. There are two types of bros. Type 1 is the starstruck tourist who gets fleeced and conned by working girls, giving a nice girlfriend experience to a moron who thinks it's real. The exploitation there is actually done by them to the idiot tourist, and happens a lot in the Caribbean, South America, and Thailand. Type 2 is the actually mutually beneficial arrangement. The man gets his trad wife, and she's beyond happy to be that girl for him. A lot of these women aren't exactly thrilled at their local dating prospects. Eastern European men apparently tend to just leave for a bar after a fight, and if he cheats on her, then it's her fault for souring his mood enough to make him leave the house for a night. Many Asian and Eastern European men also tend to leave it all to the woman. All the cleaning, all the cooking, all the child rearing and social planning, while he just sits at home watching television. For them, finding a dude who has money and some semblance of help around the home is a jackpot, because that shit is a diamond in the rough for them to find locally. This is actually what was found back in the day when people first looked into mail-order brides. They tended to be more feminist and sought men abroad who wouldn't punish her as severely as local men for it. You have sex butts and comers as a third group, but they're really minimal and can be fleshed out easily by just asking to see the length of the visa and some serious vetting. It's easy to filter these men out, especially because a bit of constant communication without putting out early flushes them out quickly. Fears of exploitation are really overblown. The majority of these girls are actually quite happy at the prospect of dating a Western man, since he's less traditionally imposing than the locals. The issue is that she has that expectation, and he underestimates the economic slack he's meant to pick up in exchange for a more traditional woman in comparison to Western women. To me, the complaints are hypocritical. Ironically, the ones that exploit their equality are complaining about men exploiting poor women in third countries. These very same men who tried, failed, or are just out of luck in the dating scene that's arguably transactional despite living in an egalitarian society of the West. If you're a man, it's simply in your best interest to date abroad. Otherwise, your only other option is to aim for the 450th women who meet the lowest standards I can imagine setting. I ended up passport broing when I lived on the East Coast and dated a Ukrainian girl who came to the US to study for 5 years. The difference between girls like her and local girls here is like an Olympian versus a Special Olympian. She was extremely well educated, versed in the politics of multiple countries abroad, far more well-traveled despite being far poorer than Americans, spoke 3 languages, cooked, cleaned, and was an absolute sweetheart who fought with me so little I can count the number of issues we had with the digits on one hand. She wasn't that special either. I went to Ukraine pre-war, and the normal girl there is as beautiful as some of the best here. She was ecstatic, telling me that many men in Eastern Europe have a reputation for being awful to them, taking them heavily for granted and borderline cheating on them at the first sign of a fight. Leave the house, go to a bar, come back the next morning after fucking a rondo. Kazakh friends in our group confirmed this to me, telling me I treated her too well. Men really don't know what they're missing, and they're extremely grateful to be with a man from the West who is appreciative of her efforts rather than an abusive asshole. But you can't expect to go 50-50. You have to be the man in the relationship and be a rock. I'm a big promoter of going abroad instead of playing with the atrocious local odds. I've got a lawyer's salary with Midwest prices, so I can afford to pay for SAHN. And that's what you'll have to be able to do if you want a passport bro and live in America. And if you do this, she should be smart enough to homeschool and take care of the home plus kids' social lives. It's not as easy as people make it out to be. Western women would rather mock men for traveling the world and finding good women than clean up their act and admit they want men to pay for them to travel the world so they can find better men. They see it as a challenge to their perceived entitlement to having everything they want. After all, if the lack of perfect men is the problem, how dare they find women that appreciate them instead of becoming perfect? They would rather harass and abuse the men that haven't abandoned them yet. They can't wrap their minds around the reality that they are the problem. The shit show around passport bros are angry women who know they can't compete. Women have always complained if men found a woman from elsewhere. Doesn't matter if it was from a different neighborhood, different town, neighboring country, or the other side of the world. Social media is just a megaphone. We hear them complaining now. Well, if foreign women in other countries are being exploited and manipulated through passport bros, how come it's only Western women who point it out? Why don't non-Western women who are being exploited talk about it? It's always being complained about through hearsay and third-party speculation. Women are always going to complain no matter how good or bad they actually have it in reality. This is a learned behavior. In the current cultural climate, complaining always results in positive things for women. Not only will they get whatever thing they are asking for, be it the censorship of a person or group they don't like, or some sort of societal privilege handed to them that men have to work for, but they are also praised by other women for complaining. They are called stunning and brave. It is a constant positive feedback loop. This is the reason most of the complaining women do, regardless of what they appear to be complaining about. Anyway, that's all for today on manhood. Don't forget to smash the like and subscribe buttons, and also click on the notification bell to be the first to know when I drop a new video. If you find value in my videos, you can show your support through PayPal or Cash App. The links are in the description. See you next time. Cheers.